All right, today we're going to have a little special sit down with my new best friend, Emily Mitchell from the Victim Service Center of Central Florida. Emily, could you tell me a little bit about what your job is and what the Victim Center is?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to talk more with you. I work for the Victim Service Center. We're a nonprofit agency. We are located in downtown Orlando, but we do actually have other offices in Longwood and Kissimmee. We're the Certified Rape Crisis Center for Orange, Osceola, and Seminole counties. And we provide a lot of free services for survivors of any kind of trauma, whether that is a sexual assault, it could be it could also be a traumatic circumstance, a violent crime, that kind of thing. We offer that in a variety of different ways, but we do crisis counseling. We have a 24-hour helpline that anyone can call at any time. It's 407-500-HEAL, HEAL. And we do support groups as well. And also we do prevention education, and that's my main role there. I'm the education coordinator. I teach about topics in the community regarding sexual violence. I talk about healthy dating relationships and relationships in general. I also talk about sexual harassment. And I also talk about stalking, cyber stalking. So lots of different topics that we cover to help prevent violence.
And it's all free services, right? People
All
aren't
free.
paying.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
the reason we're having this discussion today is because sexual harassment is hitting the news right now with some local restaurants. And Bungalower doesn't cover crime, but we at least want to make sure that people know that there are some amazing resources here in Orlando that they can take advantage of. And all I have to do is just make a call or maybe just email you. Can you talk a little bit about, like, what if somebody is experiencing sexual harassment at work? I know you cover so many other things you were just talking about, but if they're experiencing sexual harassment at work, what can they do? How can they seek help?
Yeah, this is a great question, and I'm so glad that you asked it. Like I said, one of the topics I train on is sexual harassment. And what I like to first often state when I do have this training is that I want everyone to know that if you are being sexually harassed, you do have options, and I don't want anyone to ever feel stuck. So some of those options that I share are, if you do feel comfortable doing so, tell the harasser to stop. You can also document everything, including details, location, time, witnesses, if you report to a supervisor and what that supervisor said, those kinds of things. And if the harassment does continue, you can review your work's anti-harassment policy and follow the steps outlined. I know we're also talking specifically about work-based harassment, but I do want to highlight that school-based harassment can happen too. So school can also have a anti-harassment policy. And if your work does not have one, that is a big red flag. And actually the EEOC website has some tips on what anti-harassment policies should include. So definitely take a look at that as well.
Let's
And
just say really quick what the
sure.
EEOC is, right? It's the
Yes.
see if I remember, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission.
Yes, exactly. So you
Okay.
got it absolutely right. Sorry about that.
Well, no, and that's a great resource as well,
Mhm.
because if you're filing a complaint against somebody, generally that's one of the first and only places that you can really go to like file and lodge a formal complaint, right?
That's right, because the last thing you can do is you can report the harassment to the appropriate resources. So if you are on a college campus, that could be your Title IX office. But if for work, that could be your supervisor, that could be a human resources department, or even the EEOC. And I just want to state that throughout this process, the VSC is here. Advocates can help support and navigate through this process. They can develop safety plans and help process emotions. So if you ever need support, you can call our 24/7 helpline at that 407-500-HEAL.
So let's look at that. So you have this great program where people get like an ambassador, right? Or somebody who is basically assigned to you to help you through the process. And so what does that process look like? Somebody, you're calling for help, someone's calling y'all that they need some help because something's happening at work. So they're given somebody to work with them. So where do they go? They first, they're seeking counsel, right, with you, and as well as legal counsel.
Right. So absolutely, you can connect with one of our advocates here. They're wonderful crisis counselors. They're all master level. Really, what's great about the Victim Service Center is that it's an individualized approach, and it's very survivor focused. So they'll work with the survivor on what works best for them. But one of those things that they can provide is they can do that free counseling as well. But also we do have partners in the community that can help with the legal side of things. For example, we partner with attorneys from the Florida Council Against Sexual Violence, and they can directly support the victim or survivor in tandem in a survivor focused way. But again, an advocate can help assisting with injunctions. They can help develop safety plans and really be there as a support, process emotions, that kind of thing.
Because Emily, from what I understand, and I've spoken to a couple of lawyers through this process, just trying to wrap my head around it, it's a lot of repeating your story and repeating like what happened to you, your account of what happened to investigators, right? If it's going up the chain, you have to tell your investigators multiple times so that you're vetted. If it goes to court, it's generally the job of the opposing lawyer to make it sound like you're not like trustworthy, right? And so having somebody there with you to hold your hand and cheer you on is such a great service. I love what y'all do. Can we talk a little bit more about like maybe prepping for a case and what it looks like? What should people be doing if they want to seek legal ramifications?
Right. So again, the VSC is here as exactly how you mentioned, as someone who is right next to you, supporting you through this process. The VSC, with their awesome partners that we have, the attorneys from the Florida Council Against Sexual Violence will definitely have that survivor-focused viewpoint, and they'll be able to work with that survivor in tandem with the advocate as well, to really help them prep. They can also, like I mentioned earlier, I would recommend documenting as well as much as you can, but at the end of the day, the VSC is definitely here to help process those emotions. Like you were mentioning, it can be really difficult to just talk about it over and over again through this process. So yeah, the advocates are here, the VSC is here.
So documenting, let's talk about that. So people might just like, what does that mean? Documenting, you're taking pictures, like you're hiding in bushes and taking pictures of the person. Like you could, but it's generally like text messages, right? Those work. So having like in text conversations with people, maybe you were sending an email to your manager to lodge a formal complaint. Are those things that you recommend?
Yeah, I would recommend also just keeping a log for yourself of the actions that you might have taken, maybe in regards to trying to stop the harassment. I would also document what the harassment was, when it located, where it was located, when it happened. Maybe you did reach out to a supervisor, and then what was done, what actions were done, those kinds of things I would document.
How do these things usually end? I know that people can get, if you were forced possibly to leave your job because of the harassment, you can get there's like not a refund. I can't, the word is escaping me, but you can get like the hours that you've lost paid for. Is that like, what happens from this?
Right. Yeah. So I don't know much about that process for the legal side of things, but what I do know that sometimes what's even best throughout this process is just having that person support you through it. I know that legal battles are really difficult, and I know that they're really complicated and they're hard to go through, and it doesn't always work out the way that someone would like it to work out. But what's really important is sometimes, and most of the time, what's most important is having that emotional support through it, because that's where the VSC really shines, and that's really what we do.
Do you work at all with the human rights offices? I know we have a human rights office at the city of Orlando and at the county.
Oh.
Well, maybe
I'm
I
not
should put you on
sure.
the
I'm
spot
actually,
there.
yeah, I do know that. Sorry.
We'll take that out.
No, that's fine. I do know that we have many partners throughout the community that are absolutely survivor focused. And even if it's not something that we can directly offer, we'll definitely help connect to the right people.
Okay, I love it. Quick and easy. Where can people find you? Can we say again where people can find more information about the Victim Service? I always get it. I always say it wrong. It's the Victim Service Center of Central Florida.
Yes, absolutely. So we're on a lot of different social media platforms, but you can go to our website at victimservicecenter.org. We have our 24/7 helpline, which is 407-500-HEAL, HEAL. We also are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at VSC Florida. And we also actually have a podcast if you're interested. Yeah. So you can find that on our YouTube, which is at VSC Florida, but also wherever you get podcasts, on Spotify, that kind of thing. So if you're interested in what we're doing in the community, we actually talked to some of our partners. We talked to some of the Florida Council Against Sexual Violence. We actually have an attorney chat with one of those podcasts as well. So definitely check it out.
What's the name of the podcast?
It is VSC Podcast. Pretty easy to remember.
Easy. That's great for finding on Google.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for your time. What you're doing is so important and vital, and I just appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk to me so we can share this with our readers.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me today. I love the VSC. I love being a part of it. And I'm so glad that this resource is here for anyone in the community.